You missed some important news from the LGBTQ plus community this week. To ensure you are current, we are recapping that important news. Here's what you may have missed.
Drag race queens slam silent allies over anti-trans, anti-drag bills. Silent support is no longer enough. Trans people and drag artists have always been at the forefront of fighting for LGBTQ plus rights, and the same thing is happening once again in 2023. With hundreds of new pieces of transphobic and anti-drag legislation being introduced, voted on, and even passed by conservative politicians, high-profile stars of RuPaul's Drag Race are fighting back and urging those who call themselves allies to take a firm stand in defense of the LGBTQ plus community. Tennessee has become the first state in the U.S. to pass a bill with significant restrictions to drag shows. Unfortunately, hundreds of similar bills are being brought up in other states. CPAC Speaker Michael Knowles has given a dangerously transphobic call to action, saying, quote, transgenderism must be eradicated, end quote. This has ignited fury and fear within the LGBTQ plus community. Even though some queer people are already starting to fight back, many are also calling upon our allies to stand with us in this fight. Drag race queens like The Jinx, Ben de la Creme, Bianca Del Rio, and others are appealing to people to raise their voices in support of the LGBTQ plus community.
The LGBTQ plus community is shocked as new Pride street painting is vandalized in Fort Lauderdale, the gayest place on planet Earth. Mayor Dean Trentalis decries creeping level of hate after vandals deface the LGBTQ plus pride flag painted on a street just off Fort Lauderdale Beach. The mayor says the LGBTQ plus Progress Pride flag was damaged intentionally. He says that the damage to the flag should be viewed in the context of rising animosity toward traditionally marginalized minority populations. Trentalis, the city's first openly LGBTQ plus mayor, presided over the unveiling of the flag on just February 10th, the day before the Pride of the Americas parade and festival at the beach. According to Detective Ali Adamson, a department spokesperson, the Fort Lauderdale Police Department is investigating the incident. The flag measures 75 feet by 18 feet, is in the design of the Progress Pride flag, most of which consist of the 6 rainbow stripes that are a familiar symbol of LGBTQ plus pride. It also includes the triangular black and brown stripes to represent people of color and baby blue, pink, and white stripes to include the colors of the transgender flag. City spokesman Arlene Borenstein said this total project, including asphalt work, cost $77,375, and the flag was painted on Sebastian Street between State Road A1A, affectionately called Gay 1A, and Seabreeze Boulevard, which is close to the famous LGBTQ plus beach of Fort Lauderdale. Stay tuned at the end of tonight's broadcast for a special exclusive interview with Mayor Trentalis regarding the issue.
16 AGs condemned DeSantis' request for info on transgender care from colleges. Ron DeSantis has asked state universities to complete a survey detailing the number of students who have accessed treatments for gender dysphoria, including gender reassignment surgeries and hormone prescriptions. The survey also asked for the ages of the students, but no other identifying details. However, 16 Democratic attorneys general have condemned Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' request for information about students who sought or received gender-affirming care at public colleges in Florida. The coalition, led by New York Attorney General Letitia James, wrote in a letter to DeSantis, quote, his information request may be intended to intimidate and will actually intimidate university administrators and healthcare providers and chill vulnerable students from accessing necessary medical care, end quote. Reputable medical groups, including the American Medical Association, have warned that restrictions on gender-affirming care could lead to negative impacts on mental health for trans youth who have an increased risk of suicide. But DeSantis and other high-profile Republicans, including former President Trump, have honed in on gender-affirming care as a target and sought to restrict people's ability to access it. DeSantis' administration has asked the state board regulating doctors to essentially ban transition-related care for trans minors and advised doctors to ignore federal guidance and stop assisting children and teens with gender transitions.
The youngest member of Congress, Maxwell Frost, talks about importance of LGBTQ+ community. The Florida LGBTQ+ Democratic Caucus represents the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community to the Florida Democratic Party. They are a statewide organization with 21 local chapters around the state. The Florida LGBTQ+ Democratic Caucus is chartered by the Florida Democratic Party. The youngest member of Congress, Representative Maxwell Frost, talked to its supporters recently about the big issues the LGBTQ+ community faces. He mentioned the hateful remarks of vengeance, Governor Ron DeSantis, who takes every opportunity to attack anyone that doesn't look like or think like him, and the law like Don't Say Gay that attacks queer children, families, and schools. Frost also mentioned the attack on drag shows and performers. He requested the community members raise their voices for equality and equity.
We queer up health. CDC warns about bacterial infection rising among gay men.
The CDC issuing a warning about a rise in a highly drug-resistant stomach bug. Elena Athens joins us live now with more on the story. Elena?
Yeah, good afternoon to you, John. The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services say that they haven't seen any of these cases just yet in our state. However, they are expecting them to start popping up because of how transmissible this infection and the bacteria itself is. So the drug-resistant bacteria is called Shigella. There are limited antimicrobial treatments available for these particular strains, and it is easily transmissible. It can spread through things like person-to-person contact or contaminated food or water. An infectious disease expert says medical professionals classically see these cases in daycare centers or group settings, such as nursing homes, but now the number overall of cases are rising.
One of those organisms that what we call is invasive, so it invades the surface of the intestines, and so it's not uncommon to see blood in the stool with that, with Shigella. Abdominal pain, high fevers, people can get quite sick from it.
So that doctor says the best way to protect yourself is overall good hygiene, washing your hands, making sure your food is refrigerated right away here if you're in the States. However, he says if you are traveling overseas, perhaps to a less developed country, opt for bottled water and food that has been cooked thoroughly. We're live in Raleigh. Elena Athens, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.
The Centers for Disease Control has issued a warning to healthcare providers about a rise in antibiotic-resistant shigellosis, a condition overrepresented among gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men, as well as people living with HIV. The bacterial infection, shigellosis, affects the digestive tract and usually causes inflammatory diarrhea that can be bloody. The infection may also lead to fever, abdominal cramping, and tenesmus, a continual or recurrent urge to evacuate the bowels. According to the CDC, Shigella bacteria are transmitted by the fecal-oral route, directly through person-to-person contact, including sexual contact, and indirectly through contaminated food, water, and other ingested materials.
Keep watching the only television news in the world from our LGBTQ+ community and stay informed on everything that is important for and about our diverse LGBTQ+ community.